Hello everybody, this is Danielle Stewart, your candidate for mayor of Beckley in 2020, and welcome to another edition of Ask Danielle. So we're going to try something a little new. Well, I thought I was going to try something new, and then the lap cat shows up. And if you follow these before, you've seen that lap cat makes an appearance quite often. You also may hear some squeaking sounds in the background. That has nothing to do with your audio. The dog has decided it found a squeaky toy, and every once in a while it keeps biting on that toy. So I hope everybody's doing okay, working your way through the virus. I know how tough it is. I'm having a very difficult time myself modifying my schedule. I feel like I am just now getting in the groove of making sure my contact information is available. Yeah, believe it or not, this is not a staged video with multiple camera angles, perfectly edited. We just go straight off with who we are and how I am, and we go from there. That's why we have a lap cat constantly making an appearance. So again, I hope everybody's doing well with the virus. I'm actually starting to get a little bit better. I'm starting to get into a little bit more of a routine than what I had before. I hope you all are getting into a routine as well, and that you're able to weather through this, because it looks like we're going to be doing this for a while longer anyway. Governor Justice announced today that schools are officially closed for the rest of the school year. I think that most of us kind of knew that was going to happen. I should say closed, but in-person school closed, because they're still doing the virtual online classes. And so it's a good, like I say, I kind of knew that this was going to happen, you know, just because of the way things are laying out. I know other states and governors are making decisions to open their states up sooner rather than later. I hope that they don't pay for that with people's lives, but we'll see how that goes. I have been, and I have to bite my tongue saying this, but, you know, while I am not a big fan of Governor Justice, I am at least happy that he takes the time every single day to speak to the community in this time of crisis. Don't always like everything that he has to say, and there's certainly many other policies that I disagree with. But, you know, I feel like the need to point out that hearing Governor Justice every day is something that the people of West Virginia need. And, you know, hopefully if I'm elected mayor and if I have to deal with a crisis like this, I'll be able to do that for you as well. So continue on, we talked about the schools closed. We did have a city council meeting this morning. Not sure if everybody knew that. But 8:30 a.m. this morning, that Army talk just flips on in, I don't even think about it. 8:30 a.m. this morning, City Council held a meeting. The main purpose of the meeting was to set the city B&O levy rates for fiscal year 2021, which begins this July 1st. No idea what those rates are, but what I can tell you is that it passed unanimously, and that it will be posted, the new rates will be posted in the newspaper after they've been voted on, so that you can make sure you know to pay them, even if you didn't have a voice into what they actually are. Other things that happened at the city council meeting, they accepted a bid for asphalt. There was only one bidder providing for that bid. And let's see, there was something else that popped up. Darn it, I had it written down, I can't remember it. So if I think about it, I'll come. Oh yeah, the next topic on the list. So, which I didn't realize, but you know, so the governor moved all the state elections to June 9th. However, the municipal elections needed to have their own resolution in order to change dates. So, the city council voted and passed a resolution officially moving the municipal election to June 9th. And just wanted to remind everybody of a couple of dates as far as that goes. So the last day to register to vote is May 19th. And early voting is going on now and will continue going on till June 6th. I should say early voting through absentee ballot is happening now. Early voting in person at the courthouse, they haven't said if they're still doing it or not, but if they do it, it'll be May 27th to June 6th. The county clerk sent out absentee ballot applications to all registered voters in Raleigh County. You have to have those ballots or those applications back to the county clerk no later than June 3rd in order to receive your absentee ballot on time for it to be filled out and submitted for the election. If you are a registered voter and you did not get an application, you can scroll down a couple of posts on Facebook here, and you can find a link to the Secretary of State's website that will take you to the absentee ballot application that they have there, and they will print it out and send it to you. I've also mailed out a couple to individuals that don't have printers. So if you don't have a printer and you need one, feel free to contact the campaign, and we will do what we can to get one out to you. And then, of course, the actual election is June 9th. No changes to that so far, and I don't anticipate that one changing again. So tonight, the main topic for tonight is to talk about the city infrastructure. I published on my website position paper number 9, which deals with infrastructure and my infrastructure plan for the city of Beckley. So we haven't quite publicized that yet. It is on the website, but we have not publicized it and got that out on Facebook and other social media so people can see it. But we will do that either tonight or tomorrow so people can start taking a look at that. But the big thing to note is that
the website.
The website here, yes. As my camera person points out to me. Somebody's got to keep me straight. But anyway, so I have the infrastructure plan up there, and I would love to tell you that it's this really detailed plan of we're putting this much money into this at this time. Well, it's not quite that. It's more of the method and systems that I want to put in place for working on our infrastructure. Because we already know, our water is failing, our sewer is failing, our electrical is failing, our gas is failing, our roads are failing, and our telecommunications suck, just to put it nicely. And so we know this, and we know that it needs to be worked on. And so, but when you look at Beckley as a conglomerate, what we get is, we get the sewer fixed at Red Brush, we get a road paved over here on Marion Street, and another road paved over here. We have Appalachian Power replacing street poles and street lights, or power poles and street lights in another neighborhood. So there's constantly something going on, but nothing is ever coordinated. And I tell you, it is maddening when you have the city come out, they pave a stretch, and within 1 month, one of the utilities show up and tears up that new paving to fix their infrastructure. So the way I want to address that is by creating a Beckley Infrastructure Board. And with that board, I intend to invite members of all the utilities, power, water, sewer, electric, gas, and telecommunications, to get us all in one room. I should say, those are the utilities. In addition, I want to invite all of our state delegates, our House of Delegates representative, our 2 state senators, as well as representatives from Congress, our representative from the 3rd Congressional District, as well as representatives from both U.S. Senators' offices. And to bring everybody together once a month to talk about the infrastructure in Beckley. The number one thing that this group will do is coordinate our efforts. It would be nice that if we're going to pave an area, that the Sewer Beckley Sanitary Board comes in, we tear off the old stuff, the Beckley Sanitary Board comes in, do the work that they have to do anyway, and then the city goes back over and paves it. With the goal of, being more efficient. It's a cost-saving move for them, and a lot easier for us than if we're going to go in, do as much as we can at one time, instead of all this piecemeal everywhere. Which also then brings to the second thing that I want to work on with this Beckley Infrastructure Board, and that's prioritization. Again, we're everywhere, all over the place in the city. What I want to do is get all these entities together, and I want to rank every single street, every single neighborhood for infrastructure improvements, and then take a hard look at that and say, okay, this street, we'll say Simpkins Street. Simpkins Street has the worst power, the worst sewer, the worst water, and needs paved. And so, as a group, all of the utilities and the city come in and they improve that one street all at one time so that we can stop this hacking, for lack of a better word, of utilities everywhere. And I think it's possible. If we get everybody in the same room, I think that we can do this. Even if all we could do is just the coordination, that's great. But I think we can prioritize it, and then we can actually invest into our neighborhoods and make the repairs that we need to do. So obviously, that's going to cost money, lots and lots of money. Honestly, millions and millions of dollars. And it's not going to happen in 6 months or 1 year. I think probably estimated to be about 10 years to do the entire city. But if we make that investment now, we could set Beckley up for the next 50 years. So our kids and our grandkids are actually able to live and have a good life in Beckley with the infrastructure that we create for them. So again, but that's going to cost millions. Where do we get that money from? And that's why we invite our state and federal legislators to attend the meeting. We want to bring them in and make them aware of what our problems are and what our plans are, and let them go and fight to get the money for us. Because the reality is, there is state money available. There is federal money available. But we have to show that we are coordinated, and we have to have prioritized plans before you can actually request to get that money. It's one of those things they always, when they're looking for stimulus, they say, well, we'll do infrastructure projects, and they need the shovel-ready projects, which means all the planning is done. All they have to do is stick a shovel in the ground and start digging to get to work. I want us to have shovel-ready plans for the infrastructure of all of Beckley so that our legislators can then go and fight to get us the funding and support we need to set Beckley up for the future. Because, we're falling apart. There's no nice way to put it. And some of the utilities are working hard to maintain what they have, but to do the upgrades that are needed takes money that they don't have. And so, part of that is we have to go find that money for them. So that's the biggest part of the infrastructure plan. And then there's the last part, which is something called the bully pulpit, which is what leaders in executive positions use basically to call people out. And that is absolutely something I will do if you elect me as mayor. If there's a utility not playing ball, you better darn well believe I will be at the State Public Service Commission making sure they know that they're not supporting our city. Let the AEP, Mountaineer Gas, get their rate hikes over top of me. They're getting rate hikes, but they're investing in our community. We've got to take a look at that. But just to get rate hikes, I don't know. Again, I don't know who all saw the thing, but Appalachian Electric Power last year profited millions of dollars. That's after all, billions, sorry. And that's after all their expenses. I think Mountaineer Gas was $357 million of profit after all expenses. So again, yet they're going out and asking for more money. But yes, I will use the office of mayor with the bully pulpit. If somebody is not playing ball, someone is not doing what is in the best interest of the city, I will make it public. I will make sure that it is known in the newspaper, on social media, every single way that I can get out there to show that they are not doing what is best for Beckley. And that's what you should expect from all of your elected officials, whether you elect me or not. But their job is not to take money from all these corporations. Their job is to protect you and to do what's best for you. And if they're not doing that, you should really take a hard look at who you're voting for. So that is what I've got for the infrastructure brief to start with. And so kind of going to answer any questions that have come up.
So Caitlin Barnett says, it's terrifying. What do you think about the ones protesting wanting to open up and places like Pigeon Ford and Gatlinburg opening up?
Well, I read an article about that today, and honestly, I read lots of different articles around that theme right now. And while there's a lot of push about, well, it's our liberty, it's our right, when you boil it down to it, people are scared. Those people out there protesting are scared. They've lost their jobs. They've lost their livelihoods. They don't know what they're going to do. And they're willing to risk their lives and other people's lives to take care of themselves. And that's a normal emotion, and that's where leadership at the city, state, and federal level really comes in. Instead of telling these protesters, hey, we're working on things, you have to stay home to protect everybody, we have an individual at the federal level that runs their mouth encouraging it, as long as it's against, one of the other parties, because that's what's really important, right? The political party. But yeah, it is scary, and I think people are going to pay a high price for that. But while I do believe some people are motivated by wanting their liberty, I believe the larger motivation really is people are fearful, and they aren't getting the answers and the support that they need to make the best decisions. And until the governments at all level can do that, people are going to be itching to go out and do things. We just have to remember, though, that we don't want to sacrifice people's lives. And if it's just not worth it. This is the only life you got. So, next question.
This is also from Caitlin. She asks, when do you think the economy will reopen?
As each state is different, I'm not for sure. I think that West Virginia will probably start, and this is total guess, just off of the things I've read and listening to the governor, that I would expect end of May that we start taking the tentative steps towards fully reopening our economy. But, as they say, there's some significant things that have to happen if we want to do this and do this right. Number one is we have to have significant testing capabilities, which means not testing residents one time or testing people that are at risk. It is possibly testing people multiple times, because if you are in a business that deals with people and you have a lot of exposure, you may need to be tested a whole lot more often than somebody who doesn't necessarily have to deal with other people. And we have to have that capability before we can really start talking about reopening the economy on a full-time scale. And really, it's down across the board. Is what are the methods? As I tell people when we talk about what's essential, got it that some things are essential, but what's really essential is for that business to have procedures. How do you protect your employees, and how do you protect your customers? And if you don't have good answers, you don't need to be open. And I'm just flat out going to say that. I think that our small businesses can handle that. I think they can come up with creative and innovative answers that minimize the risk to people and that they can open up. I think some of the larger corporations don't have that answer and don't care to have that answer. They're just wanting to get open up because they want more money. I guess they should have invested more instead of paying out bonuses. So yeah, I don't have a firm, it's been all kinds of different questions there, so I don't have a firm answer. I just know that we have to have the testing and that we have to have proper procedures in place to protect people, because, it's just as bad if we go to reopen now and then we're having to close again in June, and we reopen in July and we close again in August, and then we really start messing even more with the school year than we've already done. So, next question. Oh, wait, I have a statement. Oh, if you have any questions, you can always send me a direct message. Send the campaign page a direct message. You also see my other contact information here. You can call, you can email. Kind of difficult to campaign or meet people when, the camera here is about the only thing that you have that you can use. And so I've set up the email and I've set up the phone number so people can call me. If I don't answer immediately, I will get back with you so that, so leave a message and I will I will plan to call you back with a time, in a time that's convenient for you so we can talk one-on-one. So next question. Any other?
I meant if they don't want to ask the question in the comments, they can send it to your DM now so I can get it and have it answered.
So you can, I need something like this on the back that reminds me of all this stuff. So what they're saying is you can direct message now if you have any questions, and then we will do our best to answer them while we're still on here. So do we have any more questions? All right, more questions.
Tracy would like to know, what are your views on the gang violence starting to creep into Beckley?
First, I'm not first. I have a hard time saying that gang violence creeping into Beckley simply because the gang violence has been here for quite a long time. It has not been as prevalent in areas like it is now. I don't even want to say that. It has been prevalent. It's just, I should say, it's starting to affect people now. How do I really want to say that? It has affected, up until now, it's only affected one specific demographic in the community, and basically the city and county has turned their back on it. Now that it's becoming more open and aware, people are starting to be aware of these problems. And I definitely think it's something, well, I mean, bottom line, it has to be something that has to be addressed. But it's really, I think that's one of the things that we have to look at, and especially when we talked about the community policing a few weeks ago. Why are people joining the gangs? What are the gangs providing? They're providing security. They're providing economic benefit. They're providing support. And because these gangs are doing that, and the city is not, people choose the gang. Interesting, kind of a comment on that, because that was one of the things with the insurgents in Iraq that tried to talk to people to get through, and I call it the pothole problem. And the way the Iraqi government was structured, the pothole in front of your house was a presidential problem. Only the president had the ability in Iraq to fix that pothole in front of your house. Well, what would happen is Insurgent Joe will come down with his two sons. They patch it for you. That person may not be openly supporting the insurgents, but he's not going to turn them in. He's not going to report them because he's getting a benefit from it. And so bringing that back to how gangs are here, the gangs are supplying people here, their members, with services, security, economics, whatever that service happens to be. So if we want to really get in and disrupt that, we have to address those concerns. We have to let people know their security is important, their safety is important, and we have to provide good quality jobs. And the jobs part is going to be a longer term thing, but I think we can do it. I really do. And I think that when we have the good jobs and we have safe neighborhoods, the gang problem goes away. But what we cannot do is keep ignoring certain neighborhoods and then expect the problem to go away. We need to get in those neighborhoods, talk to the people, find the solutions, and implement them there in those neighborhoods, not on Woodlawn, in other places. So, next question.
This next question is from James. He asks, also related to the above, there were 4 overdoses that I know of in downtown Beckley yesterday. What do you think can be done to curb drug use and homelessness in our area?
Well, I actually have both of those papers published. If you get a chance to check them out. The drug epidemic was the first paper that I published, and the 4 overdoses are exactly why. It's impacting us across the spectrum of everything that we're doing. And, I have been involved with a lot of different organizations throughout Beckley. All of them have good intentions. All of them are trying to work this problem, but they aren't necessarily getting all of the support that they need. So in Huntington, they created a thing they call the City of Solutions. And they're currently going around all the cities in West Virginia pushing out this information. But basically, they've created a special staff, special committee, special board that involves the police, the fire department, all the local agencies, their mayor. And all of what these individuals do is they focus on coordinating all of their efforts so that we can address the drug epidemic. Address the drug epidemic as it is now. And if you, again, that's the City of Solutions from Huntington, if you would like to take a look at that. And I think that model would absolutely work here, that if we're able to coordinate our efforts, that we can put a dent into it. But that's 50% of the problem, or 50% of the solution. The other 50% of the solution is, what do we do? What actions can we take so that people don't start using drugs in the first place? Specifically, kids 18 and under. And that's something, so there's an Icelandic prevention model, IPM. And so what Iceland did, because they were having, it wasn't necessarily drugs, I think it was alcohol and smoking and a few other things, but they were having a huge epidemic. And they were trying to figure out, okay, how do we address these root causes? And basically, although the Icelandic prevention model has all these different things, it boils down to give the kids something to do. And it's something I mentioned to people in different things. I've been told, hey, there's all kinds of basketball things. It's only $50 to do that. We live in an environment where our families can't afford $50. And that's just the reality of it. When you have the jobs that we have and the economic problems that we have, $50 for some families is a week's worth of food. So how do we address that at the city level? We start figuring out ways to fund these activities year-round, using our parks, our community parks, working in coalition with our churches, everybody that we could bring on board in order to give kids activities to do so they have something to do other than drugs. Because when kids sit around and do, adults, because we all are susceptible to it. When we're not surrounded with a good environment, all we have is time on our hands, we tend to drift. And it's especially with our kids, that tends to happen. So using the Icelandic prevention model and figuring out activities to prevent drug use in the first place will be a major goal of how to address that. Homelessness, still working. I still got some more information to go on that. I do want to create a drop-in center where our homeless can get a shower, get their laundry done, get a haircut. There's a locker for them to lock up their stuff. There's a post office box with a physical address, which is the requirement to get any kind of support. And if we could get them in there, get them a physical address, we can get them ID cards. We can get them SNAP benefits. We can get everything that we need. But the drop-in center is not a homeless shelter. We have a homeless shelter that's being run, and it's fully utilized. So we got to look at how do we support the current shelter that we have, and they really need some support, especially when it comes to facilities. But the bigger issue, and I owe another paper on this one, is there's a gap between the homeless shelter and housing. So the government has decided they're not going to fund transitional housing. They follow a policy called Housing First. In theory, you go to the homeless shelter, I need a house, they give you a voucher, you go out, you get a house in all of a week. The reality is, you go there, you apply, 60 to 90 days later, if you're lucky, you're able to get into a house in Beckley, because it has to be HUD approved and there's all these other restrictions. And you can only stay so long at the homeless shelter. So we've got this gap, 2 to 3 month gap between applying for help and getting into a house. And that's where the homeless people are coming in. They don't have a choice. They can't stay anymore at the shelter. They've ran out of their time they can use there, and they can't get into housing. I was talking to one woman, her and her daughter have been waiting 3 months. They have the HUD voucher, but they can't find a HUD approved house to move into. This, I guess, was about 2 months ago, last time I talked to her. I haven't seen her out, so I'm hoping that she finally did get housing. So I owe a more detailed concept on how I want to address that specifically, though I can say I want to find a way to create more transitional housing in Beckley. And that's good. I think that will look like tiny houses, tiny house communities, things of that nature. We don't have to build 1,000, 1,200 square foot house for one person to live in when all they really need is a bed and a bathroom, a place to watch TV, and a place to cook. And I think we could do that relatively inexpensive. It will require some changes to our ordinances and our code, but those are all doable things. We can never point to say, well, we have an ordinance against that, so we can't do it. No, we're the city government. If we need to change ordinance, then we change the ordinance, because the need is the important thing, not the ordinance. So I will, hopefully within the next 2 weeks, I will have the housing paper done. I'll have that posted on the things that so you can have a little better idea about my housing plans.
Anthony wants to know, will Beckley ever again be in a financial position to repave roads more often than they are now?
Yeah, great question. Right now, our roads are designed, and we're supposed to have all of our roads, city roads, repaved every 12 years. Currently, because of funding decisions, we're only able to pave each road once every 25 years. So we've got to find additional funding somewhere to break that cycle. Do I know whether we'll have enough money? I'm not really for sure. I have the big budget picture, but I don't have the line item that I can point to say, okay, we're going to eliminate this so that it goes to paving. We're going to do this so we can go to paving. And again, that'll be a whole mayor, city council decision to make. I think there is funding available that we can start putting a big dent in things. It's just like I talked about earlier about this Beckley Infrastructure Board and bringing in our state and federal politicians, putting that burden on them. Help us get the money, because it's out there, and we waste it. The state wastes it. I have two things that really make me fly off the handle. Black Knight, the purchase of Black Knight, not how it's being run, and there are some issues. It's kind of in for a penny, in for a pound at this point, but it should have never been bought. The second is the Turnpike Widening Project. And I'm being laughed at here because it just burns me up. So the original bid for that was $102 million to do. A month later, it was $105 million. Last year, it was $119 million. And I've heard rumors that it's already up to $149 million. And what we're getting, we'll go with the $119 million, because that was published in a newspaper and had quotes from government officials. So $119 million. And what we're getting is an extra lane over 8 miles of turnpike so people can get through Beckley 30 seconds faster on the 5 busiest days of the year. $119 million. That would have paved Johnstown Road and Harper Road and Fayette Street and Canal Street, fixed all the sidewalks, Harper Road, so we could have built our community for the people of the community. Instead, we built it so people from Ohio and North Carolina can get past Beckley 30 seconds faster. Those are the decisions that are being made at the city, county, and state level that we have got to change. And that is something you will get with me. I will fight that stuff. That is stupid. And it hurts us. It doesn't help us. Sorry. I definitely get passionate about that one. Any other questions? We have more questions?
Yeah, Krista wants to know, do you think it's better to reopen county by county instead of the whole state at once?
The short answer is yes. It is better, and I'm not even sure county by county is part, as well as industry by industry, because some things, like I stated earlier, if you have the testing in place and you have a way to mitigate the risks to your employees and your customers, I think that there's ways that you can open faster. So definitely would support county by county as the risks are assessed and those counties are able to handle those risks. But industry, I think, will probably be the better way, so that there's time to assess how well the protective measures are working. Again, the one thing we don't want to do is start back too soon, and then we have this wave of stay home, go to work, stay home, go to work, because that's just going to drag everything out longer. So, any other questions? Nope. All right. So that's all I have. If you haven't had a chance, go check out my video about the Bill Withers Memorial Art Park, 3rd Avenue. And I want to say something, kind of close with something about that, because I did this video talking about the 3rd Avenue Art Park, which is, I'm afraid I may have given the idea that this was my idea. It wasn't my idea. This is a conglomeration of people: Christine Kinder, Ann Worley, Jill Moorfield, and a bunch of others to do this art park thing. And so, you know, this was a group effort on this. I'm being given notes and I can't read them. Oh, yes. Okay. And so, you know, doing some kind of statue or something was something that as a group that we discussed. Doing a Bill Withers memorial kind of came to mind with his passing. But even with that, that's not my idea, just my idea. There's been individuals like Matt Mullins and Lady D that have been pushing to honor Bill Withers for several years now, and it really hasn't gotten off the ground. And that should be an embarrassment to the city, that it has to be a memorial art park and not a art park to honor him, that he could come and speak. But that's where we're at. There's been talk about putting a Bill Withers statue in the location formerly called The Hole. I would support that. You know, I think that it would be better at the 3rd Avenue Art Park, but the important thing is that we honor our artists and performers that come from Beckley and Raleigh County so that we can inspire the next generation. And which brings me to kind of almost the last thing, which is, you know, if you read my position papers, I've got 9 of them out so far. I'm probably going to have 15 to 20 fully out before the election. And to make it clear, while some of these ideas are my ideas, some have gone from other people, I try to give them credit as I know about them. But when it comes to these ideas, if you hear somebody else talking about these ideas, that's okay. You know, I know that my ideas are solid and they're sound. And if some politician or some nonprofit or other group can take that idea and run with it and make things better, please do it. Because this isn't about an election. This is not about me being mayor. This is about what is best for Beckley. I believe that electing me as mayor is what is best for Beckley. But if the people choose something else, but somebody else can take one of these ideas and they run with it, please feel free to run with it. You know, it's about making Beckley better first. That has to be the priority. And if anybody else has some other priority other than that, you really got to wonder what they're doing. So, again, that's all I have for the day. If you'd like to contact me, again, you can send a message to the Facebook site. Also on the website, phone numbers, emails. Contact me. I'd love to have a conversation with you. I truly believe that if I can talk to anybody for 15 minutes, you'll understand why I'm the best candidate for mayor.
I just wanted to say that you had mentioned about the position paper that you had written that I hadn't posted, or we hadn't posted up on the Facebook page yet. It is now currently posted.
Okay.
About the infrastructure, position paper number 9. It should be at the very top of this page, so if anyone wants to check that out after you close here, it's already there.
All right, so just in case you didn't hear that, the infrastructure paper link is now posted on our Facebook website, so position paper number 9. Take a look at that, and, you know, again, let me know your thoughts. I am not somebody who thinks that I have all the answers, and I'm always willing to listen and discuss things to make Beckley better. So continuing on with this virus, take care of yourself, take care of your families, take care of your neighbors. Thanks.